mention.
Okay, I
So,
definitely need to.
Alison Green Design, she's got a website. Pretty cool. So for like the corroboree frogs,
I love it.
a certain amount gets like donated to the corroboree frog thing.
Wait.
Yes,
Alison
Alison
Green.
Green Design. Yeah, she does heaps. Spinifex white pigeon or whatever.
So cool.
And, some sort of foundation. You tell me.
Like you.
But yeah.
Alrighty, everyone, we might make a start on our next session. So welcome back from your morning tea, and we're now about to start session 3, which we're going to be talking about careers and career building and pathways that people have, or young people have taken into where they are now. But before we get started on that, I just wanted to let everyone know that on the tables there is this sheet with a QR code. So this is for any questions that you might have along the way. If you'd like to scan this, and then you can pop them up on the Slido, and then they can be there for questions later on when we've got our question and answer time. There will be a chance also during that question and Q&A to put your hand up, but if you're just feeling a little bit shy or something you don't want to forget, you can just pop that down now. Also at the Landcare conference tomorrow and Tuesday, there's going to be a NextGen Landcare booth. So there's going to be a lot of different booths around in the area for all different supporters of the conference, but there's going to be a special dedicated NextGen Landcare booth. So that's going to be, I guess, a meeting point for anyone that wants to come and have a chat with any of us there. Yeah, just a nice little, a place where we can gravitate and connect if you'd like to meet us there. So my name is Annette, and I am the chair of Intrepid Landcare. You've heard about Intrepid Landcare a little bit this morning. We've been around for 10 years, and we're supporting and empowering young people to act and lead in the Landcare space. So this session is about, as I said, career building and pathways. And there's many, many different careers and pathways in the environment and agricultural and NRM space. So we're going to learn about the different pathways that people have taken, showcasing that there are so many different routes. Also showcase the benefits of being involved in this space and some of the challenges that have come up for young people as they work towards a career in this environment. And hopefully by the end of this you can see how beneficial it is being involved in the world of Landcare. So just a little bit about me, I guess. As I said, I'm the chair of Intrepid Landcare, and I do this voluntarily on the side of my normal day-to-day life, which I am doing my PhD at the moment. So I look at plant diversity on farms across southeastern Australia, and I'm helping farmers to measure and record what they've got on their properties so that they can be a part of natural capital accounting and sort of contribute towards biodiversity markets and that sort of thing. But yeah, I've come about in this pathway, I guess, through my involvement in Landcare, and as Jackson and James both said this morning, I did go along to a Landcare meeting back when I was 23 and came out as president. So, but in hindsight, that was a really, really, really beneficial thing for me because it has set me up for where I am now. So yeah, embrace those opportunities as they come up. But we're not here to talk about me, we're here to talk about our lovely panellists that we've got today. So we've got 7 panellists today. 5 of them are actually NextGen Landcare Award finalists. So you will, congratulations to them. We've got Rosalinde, do you want to wave? Rosalinde, Cara, Taylor, Zoe and Bryce, they're our NextGen Award finalists, so you'll see them on Tuesday night at the gala dinner as well. And then we've also got 2 equally important Landcarers, Kim and Patrick. All right, so I'm just going to take a seat down here now on the bus. So we're just going to go through each of you just to give a little bit of an introduction so that we can get to know you and what you're currently doing. I'll start here with you, Kim. So, Kim, you currently work for Landcare New South Wales, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about your role there and how long you've been in that position? And you also have a bit of a passion for the ocean, I believe. Do you want to talk about what you do?
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's a pretty impressive lineup, so I hope I can follow all those big footsteps from what we've heard earlier. So I'm Kim, I work with Landcare New South Wales, and my job at Landcare New South Wales is not being out in the field, but it's sitting at a laptop most days. So I manage our memberships program, so we have a couple hundred of Landcare groups that are members with Landcare New South Wales, and I support those through bunch of services that we offer to them. I also work very closely with our Landcare New South Wales board, and we have one of our board members in the audience today, hello Wayne, and support them basically with all things governance. So the way I think about governance is basically just ensuring that shit gets done. So that's what I do most days, and in terms of my passion for the ocean, it's been a long time coming. I talked about becoming a marine biologist when I was about 5 years old. I'm in my 30s now and I'm not a marine biologist, but I have recently started going back to uni, and I'm doing a degree in marine biology and climate change now. So that's sort of a side passion of mine that I do outside of my work with Landcare.
Thank you, Kim, and lovely to meet you. Rose, we're just going to go down the line. Rose, you're the CEO of Watergum, which is a not-for-profit here in the Gold Coast. Can you tell us a little bit about your organisation and what you do in your day-to-day life as the CEO?
Is one working? It is. So I'm the Watergum Community CEO, and I've been so for the last 5 years, and before that I had different roles in the organisation. It actually used to be the Gold Coast Catchment Association, but because we started doing things outside of the Goldie, we rebranded. So I definitely started as a young little Dutchie that came over from the Netherlands originally and thought, let's see what Australia has to offer, and landed a role just doing the socials really and the website, because that's what young people do, right? And then I said to the board one day, I said, I've got an environmental degree. There's more stuff that I know that we can do. Let's apply for a few grants, see if we get it, and off we go. And got all the grants, really fortunately, and made it a full-time job. And then now we've got 12 staff after 8 years. So we engage with people in Southeast Queensland and Northern New South Wales, so habitat restoration, citizen science. We support 45 different Landcare groups locally. So we do their finances and help them with their grant applications, education, engagement events, and I'm sure I'm missing a few things here and there, but a whole bunch of things. So it's a really nice variety. Has gotten me out of the field a little bit more than I would have liked, but I still like to stay involved, so I'm still heading some of the programs that are out in the field. So 2 of my patients are platypus and marine turtles, so I'm very fortunate that we run those programs here locally and then get engaged with the Queensland networks for those. And then in my free time I do wildlife rescue and rehab, and this is one of those as well where you say you go to a board meeting and then you land a job. So I started doing some rescue and rehab, and now I'm the coordinator for South East Queensland for possum and gliders, because just what I have time for, of course. But actually right now I've just started maternity leave because growing the next gen right here.
Thanks, Rose. Patrick, now you're the Sustainability Assistant at Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School in the Tweed, New South Wales. Can you tell us a little bit about your passion and how you use those in your role at the school?
Yeah, so the environment and sustainability, wildlife has always been my drive and my passion. And I arrived at Lindisfarne as a Year 9 student, and at the time there was a huge lack of sustainability and environmental practice at the school. And I was a bit vocal about that, and the school principal recognised my passion in this space and my potential leadership skills in that. So just before I graduated Year 12, I had a meeting with him, and he asked me what I was planning to do next year, and he offered me a job on the spot. Would you like to come on as our sustainability assistant at Lindisfarne? Which I accepted straight away. Is definitely not what I was expecting. So I've been in that role for 5 years now. So I work between our 2 campuses, overseeing a lot of our sustainability and environmental practices. We are incredibly privileged as a school and in a very unique position because on our middle and high school campus, we've actually got 30 hectares of land, and 10 hectares of that is actually a forest that runs all the way down the back of the school, which is on our school property. So a very large chunk of my role at the school has actually come caretaking for that space, helping to regenerate it. I've done a lot of surveys through the campus and I've found, I think, 260-ish species of animals on site. So we've got huge diversity there. We've got 99 species of birds. But the rainforest down the back of our campus, it does have a lot of issues with various invasive weeds, camphor laurels and ochna and cat's claw, and the list just keeps going and going. So when I began my role, I very much stepped into that regeneration role on my own. And over the years, the work being done there has become more visible to the school to the point that they actually gave me 2 classes to help out with the regeneration. So I've got a year 5-6 class and a year 10 class, which I have regularly, and bringing them down into the rainforest, educating them about that space, getting them hands-on and involved in conservation and land care right on the school property, which is something so unique in schools. And not only getting them hands-on and involved, but also educating them, showing them the diversity that we have right on our campus, educating them about hands-on and practical ways that they can get involved in land care and natural resource management, and helping to ignite a passion in them that they can bring with them throughout their time at Lindisfarne and beyond.
Excellent. Thanks, Patrick. Great to see the next generation again. Cara, welcome. You're probably our most remote speaker here today. You spend much of your time in West Arnhem Land in the NT, and I believe you have a bit of a hybrid career working in research and for an NGO. Can you tell us a little bit about what your work is at the moment?
Hello everyone, my name's Cara. So I live and work between Larrakia country, Darwin, and Ngawatakin country, which is in West Arnhem. So the Watakin Indigenous Protected Area is adjacent to Kakadu National Park. It's 1.2 million hectares, and it mainly encompasses the Arnhem Land Plateau, which is an incredibly biodiverse and endemic location in Australia. In that area, there's 36 different clan estates, and for a clan estate, there might be one or several families that are connected to that country. And my role at Watakin is to facilitate ecological monitoring and research with traditional owners and rangers on country. I've been in that role for 5 years now, and 3 years ago I also started a research fellow position at CDU, and that was a negotiation with the Watakin board, because we're conducting environmental research on country, and from start to finish, from the planning to the translation of that story, we want to do that side by side. But it was recognised that as a single ecologist, it was a bit hard to do that, and so to be able to make stronger networks between NGOs and the institution, the board approved for the co-investment of my role with CDU, and that's been happening for 3 years now. My job day to day is incredibly varied, weekly also so. Last week I was in Munmoy. One day we practiced flying Maverick 350 drones because we're aiming to burn country with them, putting out cameras for the Arnhem Land gorge skink. And then on Thursday, we went and tracked a pig that has a GPS collar on it. So there's a whole range of projects that I work on, from biocultural monitoring of waterholes, threatened species projects, as well as baseline monitoring. And like I said, from start to finish, we want to have that high engagement, but also really important to deliver the training and resources. So my passion, even though I started out, as an ecologist mainly interested in wildlife, has really become empowering rangers to use digital tools and to increase their confidence to be able to monitor country, significant species and places on their own country, and that longer term vision of succession and how do I get someone in my role in the future. Like we've commented multiple times today, the people who know best is the local community. And so, yeah, I'm really, I've been really privileged to work with multiple communities across West Arnhem for the last 5 years, and knowing, they know country best. I think as a young career researcher, I knew that I wanted to work directly with those that were making decisions for country. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Right, Taylor. So Taylor, you're based in New South Wales, but you don't actually work in the NRM space, do you? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you connect with your passions outside of your career?
Thanks, Annette. Gosh, Cara, that's an incredibly hard act to follow. So yeah, I don't work in Landcare in conservation. I'm actually doing my master's in urban design right now. I studied architecture, so boo, architecture, urban design. I'm a bit of an enemy, I guess, in this room, but I do a lot of volunteering with national parks. So my volunteer work centres around the endangered colony of little penguins in Manly, in Sydney. So we have a really, really special colony of penguins in Manly, like really not far from the CBD at all, and they're the only mainland breeding colony in New South Wales, which is really, really special. And we have an amazing team of volunteers who work with national parks called Penguin Wardens. I'm part of that team, and I do a range of things. I run our camera monitoring program, so we have cameras to keep an eye on the penguins, but also ensure there's no foxes and dogs, because it is such an urban area. Dogs, foxes, cats are a huge issue. It's not an island. It's not it's really, really urban. So it's incredibly hard to protect that area from things like dogs, foxes, cats. We have issues with boat strike as well. And I started that essentially through volunteering in schools. So the kind of those school programs is super important in the environment committee, and then kind of became involved in the Penguin Warden group. And through that, a lot of the group revolves around education and beach cleaning, but then I also do some talks for schools. I was at a couple of preschools last week. Often people reach out through the Instagram, so I run the Instagram account as well, and people just want someone to come and talk about penguins to kids, because everyone loves penguins. So I do a lot of, and I kind of sometimes participate in some interviews and media things about the penguins and write some articles, but again, on behalf of a really amazing team of volunteers in Sydney. So I'm just one little cog in that wheel.
Great, thank you, Taylor. Zoe, you're in the agricultural space, which we know is a very important part of Landcare. You're an organic farmer in the ACT, amongst other things. So what does a day in the life of Zoe look like?
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm from Ngunnawal Ngambri country in Canberra. I wasn't always a farmer. Before meeting my beautiful partner who has a free-range egg farm in Canberra, I was an emergency vet nurse for 7 years. So seeing end-of-life, trauma, catastrophic accidents happening with loved ones, bless you, with loved ones, and my sanctuary outside of those walls was my garden. So I would go home and I would plant flowers, I would grow my own food, and I would just be there, switched off, and it was incredible. When I met my partner, Freddie, I saw an opportunity with a 1 acre plot that was bare for a little while, and I asked if I could start growing some produce for our self-serve farm shop out the front gate. I am very privileged to be able to do that, and we started a 1 acre market garden producing mainly tomatoes, because that's what grows in Canberra, in polytunnels, along with some fruit trees, and I just started seeing the most incredible bounty of birds and bees, like blue-banded bees that I'd never seen before in that area, along with some beautiful frogs. I've obviously got to rep them today. But yeah, I just got addicted, basically. It was unfortunate that I couldn't pay myself a wage, which didn't bother me at all, but I needed some money in order to keep going with the garden. So I say my side hustle is the ACT government. I work part-time in the ACT government, going into businesses and trying to give them a more sustainable way of working. So I'll look at energy, water and waste and give them rebates in order to upgrade, which is very amazing. I love that I can go and do sustainable things to get money, then to grow and produce. But yeah, so I grow flowers and produce in Canberra and deliver it to local restaurants for them to plate, and it's incredible. I'm very privileged to do that. I also sell it out of our self-serve farm shop, which my partner Fred built out of an old, shipping container, and milled the timber. So it was very cool, it looks very rustic. And we have a full system in there where we sell our eggs, as well as local producers around Canberra, and then my produce and flowers when it's in season. We also have an event aspect of the farm. Fred's mum planted a bag of birdseed in the front paddock, which turned into a sunflower maze. It's now 4 years on, and in March, our sunflower maze attracted 27,000 people in the space of 10 days. So that blew out of proportion astronomically and confused us quite a bit. It was just 5 of us, the family members, working those 27,000 people. So that was a little bit of a learning curve, but it was incredible. We brought that amount of people onto the farm. A lot of people had never even seen where an egg came from, so we were able to start educating. And looking in future, we're thinking of building, or we are building, a workshop space where we can come and have facilitators go in there during the sunflower maze and just up the ante with education. That's me.
Well done, Zoe. All right, Bryce, lucky last. So you're a field ecologist and a botanist and work for the East Gippsland Catchment Management Authority in Victoria's far east. What's your favourite thing about your work and where it takes you?
Geez, that's a hard question to answer in a very short amount of time. Yeah, obviously live in Mallacoota, which is a beautiful part of the world, and if I had to narrow it down, I'm very lucky with my job. I get to go and see beautiful sections of river in floodplain reaches all the way up into your more remote areas, which is really special, and work on those waterway health projects that help improve waterway health in a floodplain catchment kind of concept. And then also the engagement side of that, going into schools, talking about really cool things like frog hotels, and encouraging basically the next generation and all those school kids, scout groups, etc., to engage with good biodiversity projects. So yeah, huge amount of work that I get to do, and very varied as well. So
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Bryce. Thanks everyone for all those introductions. We might now ask some questions about how you got to your careers and sort of what are the pathways that have taken you there and some of the benefits and challenges that you've had along the way. Bryce, since we're down at you, I'm just going to say you were a key player in helping your community recover after the Black Summer fires devastated your region. And what's come up a lot today, you were the youngest member of the Mallacoota and District Recovery Association, I believe. So what was your experience being the youngest person in that association, and do you think your age benefited the group? And have you ever been put off by being the only young person in the group?
Sure. I just want to test, can everyone hear me if I speak like this? It's a bit funny talking into a microphone personally. Beautiful. But yeah, I guess today we've spoken about COVID, cost of living, all these other really big issues. But not too long ago, 5 years ago, we had the Black Summer mega fires that kind of tore through eastern Victoria and much of New South Wales and Queensland. And unfortunately, our community was really devastated by those fires that came through. So 127 homes lost. And unfortunately, I was one of those residents. And the really devastating thing about that fire was obviously the loss of biodiversity and the impact that it had on its community. But I guess being a bit from a small town, having that passion for the environment, we decided instead of kind of thinking, oh, well, the world's over, we can't do anything about it, we decided to come together and really make change. COVID made that very hard. Tried, bushfires, big community events, and then COVID comes along and you can't see each other, you've got to wear a mask on a screen, made it really, really challenging. But I was very fortunate that the idea kind of got put forward of a community-led recovery association, and I decided, I've gone to a lot of community kind of groups and I keep getting signed up for various things. I might as well put my name in the hat and see what happens. And then through a really cool process through the Victorian Electoral Commission, basically all our names got thrown into a hat like the politicians do. We all got a bit of paper and the community voted, and I was very fortunate to be voted in with 12 other people, which was really cool. And yeah, as you said, I was the youngest person on there, so I got tasked with the first thing of Facebook, the Instagram, the MailChimp, all that really technologically savvy, important things. But yeah, that was a really exciting kind of journey to be on. So I was part of that the Recovery Association for 12 years and kind of did a lot in the social media, spoke to a lot of agencies, government, senators, I guess all plethora of people that wanted to come and talk bushfire recovery, and then also worked a lot in the environment as well, where I worked with like the local Friends group, local Landcare group to try and help our community recover after those fires.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Bryce. Zoe, you've used social media to your benefit, and I hope it's not something that you just felt obligated to do. So you've used traditional media, podcasts and Instagram to make a pathway as an educator across a range of different age brackets. So how has the media helped you to follow your passions and engage with a diversity of people across, those from children to older people?
Well, thank you. I don't have the lungs of Bryce, so I'm going to use the microphone. So I didn't speak about this job that I got just before or during the market garden. I worked for a non-government organisation called Canberra Environment Centre. It was me and one other person, and it was our duty, I guess, to run workshops in Canberra, and they were often free workshops, bringing in facilitators and trying to teach the Canberra community how to grow your own food, just so many different things, make soap, that just giving skills basically. And we got a grant from the ACT government where I needed to do 12 different topics, and I needed to reach a certain amount of people in a certain amount of time. And so I started an Instagram, I got podcasts going, and I got YouTube videos. And I had no idea how to do any of that, but I learned really quickly, and I learned the hard way, but that's fine. So yeah, I feel like I was quite afraid to step into media. I'm a bit of an anxious person at the best of times, so going and putting my face in front of thousands of people was not something I would have chosen to do. But it was amazing meeting all these people and learning how I can also add these skills into my life, which then encouraged me to start my own Instagram, where I definitely don't think that I'm a teacher, but I go on there and I share what I've learnt from trial and error or from other mentors in my life. And yeah, I think social media has definitely been a benefit, but it's also terrifying.
Excellent, thanks, Zoe. All right, going to take a different track now. So, Rose, you've been in the position of Watergum. You're currently in the position of the CEO of Watergum. What was your journey like before you became a part of Watergum? And did these previous experiences and connections help to get you where you are? And I guess there's probably a lot of opportunities that you've had to take and you haven't just let things fall on your lap.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually first arrived in Australia as part of my uni. So I studied wildlife management and I needed an international internship. Said to my parents, I'll find something in Europe, stay close to you guys. Then ran out of time a bit, posted on the international network page that I needed an internship. And then this person from an organization called Ocean Connect reached out and said, if you can start in 2 weeks, you've got it. So off I went to the Gold Coast. Never heard of the Gold Coast before, by the way. So got there, met my husband 3 weeks later, so it's the usual moved to Australia story, I guess. But literally, I fell in love with the place, and I think it's because I'm from a small farmer town in Holland, and there's not a whole lot to do apart from helping your friends milk the cows and go to the pub. And I just saw so much potential here, and like the biodiversity, and just I just fell straight into the Landcare space through the internship. So I built my network right away, my skill set. But I just saw how much was happening here, because that's not something that you might see in a lot of the European countries, all this support and an event like this, to be really honest. So I fell in love with the place right away. I was like, wow, found my people that are passionate, that are doing things in their free time. So I want to keep hanging around. So I finished uni. Then luckily my uni, because I went to an applied university, I had to do 2 work placements. So that helped me build up my resume. So I also did an internship at Griffith University. Then I landed a job there for a little while and facilitated beach care. Also still was working for the organization called Ocean Connect, so running some citizen science programs and the community engagement section. Had some beautiful mentors along the way, so definitely I wouldn't have been here today if I wouldn't have really grabbed a hold of my mentors that I met throughout the way. Can't recommend that highly enough. If you've got some really good people in your life that are there and are showing you support, let them support you, because I've had some amazing mentors, and one of them was last award's individual Landcare of the year. So I've been very, very fortunate with who my mentors have been, and I'll still hold them in very high regard. So then did Griffith Uni. At the same time, I was actually doing some admin work for an NBN company as well in the evenings. Was working at a doggy daycare at the same time too. So I needed 4 jobs because I also had to pay for some visas in the meantime to stay here. Then jumped into the socials and Facebook for Gold Coast Catchment Association, now Watergum. Worked at a regen company, worked at a native nursery, and I just kept going with every opportunity that I had. I just grabbed it and thought I'll make it work. Because one, I wanted the skill set. It was a whole new environment, so I wanted to learn the landscape I was going to be working with, and the plants and the species, and just kept on going with that. And any workshop that was available, I would jump on that, like grant writing workshops. I'll go on the weekend, I'll go to tree plantings to learn more about the different biodiversity around us. Just literally any opportunity I had, I would go for it. And do 4 jobs at the same time. So I was a bit busy and I got very tired sometimes, but in the end that was really worth it, and I'm so proud of myself doing that, because I've been able to then build something really beautiful and have been able to support others along the way as well, which I've get a lot of satisfaction out of. These days we support over 10,000 people locally, getting engaged in the local events, and landholders, for example. So we, like at the moment, we work with over 200 landholders doing works on their property, help people write grants, help wildlife carers get grants as well, so they can get more facilities at their private properties. So yeah, it's just been a really incredible journey, but it's definitely been hard work, but also been incredibly lucky with the mentors that have come along the way. And yeah, so I would just say any opportunity, just grab it, really.
Great, thanks, Rose. Kim, I think, those networks and mentors would have been pretty valuable for you as well, because you didn't take a direct pathway into Landcare. So where were you before you became involved in the Landcare space, and what made you make the change to that environmental pathway, and what were the challenges and benefits that came up along the way?
Yeah, good question. So after I decided to become a marine biologist at the age of 5, I left university about 10 years ago with a master's in management instead. And I just sucked at science. I was really not good at it. So it just wasn't a pathway for me at the time. So after leaving university, I thought that my career goal in life was just to become a senior manager in like a really prestigious consulting company and make good money and make the world a better place by consulting like the large corporates in the world. That was my goal at the time. I absolutely own that. And so I started off my career at Deloitte. Some of you may know the organisation. It's a global organisation, hundreds of thousands of employees. And I spent the majority of the last 10 years working as a consultant with organisations on major business transformations. So I got really lucky along the way, and I worked with organisations like the CSIRO, the New South Wales Department for Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water, DQ, Oxfam Australia. And so what I had learned from working with clients like that is there's so much impact we can have working with organisations like that. And so it felt like as a consultant, yes, I had an impact and I could leave something good, but it didn't feel like it was enough. So early last year, I was invited to go down to Antarctica, and I don't know if anyone's been there, but the place is absolutely life-changing for me, quite literally. And I met a scientist from the WWF at the time, and he said to me something that really stuck with me when we were talking about career paths. And he said, Kim, your background doesn't matter. In conservation, we need every single one, no matter where you come from, no matter what you can bring. So that was the final nudge for me to say, okay, let's make some changes. And I quit without having had a new job. And I had a few glasses of wine when I came home and applied for university. And I got in somehow. So I started studying again and started looking for jobs that would give me the flexibility and the opportunity to bring what I was already reasonably good at, just in a different industry. So I was one of those people who had never heard of Landcare. And I think that's a real challenge for us, is many people haven't heard of Landcare until they meet Landcare or Landcarers. So I started speaking to and working with Landcare New South Wales. So for anyone who doesn't know Landcare New South Wales, we are basically the state peak body for Landcare New South Wales. We don't do the hands-on work on the ground. We're sort of an enabling organisation that sits across all of the Landcare groups on the ground that are doing this amazing work. So that's how I got into Landcare, and that was only about a year ago. So the whole Landcare world is really new to me, and we've heard a lot about barriers and not really knowing where to start, and that was a big challenge for me as well, not really knowing much about the industry, the players in it, the people, what could I bring, how could I add any value to it. And something I really wanted to stress is just start somewhere. You know, don't be afraid to trial and error. And something I've been reflecting on a lot for the last years, you don't have to have it all worked out right now. And the career you might be in today and the role you might be in today may not be the role you're going to be in 10 years' time, and that's okay. So career paths don't have to be linear. They can be a little bit like this, up, down, circle back, maybe start off fresh, and I think that's okay to know. And it's really important that we're not letting that hold us back. So Yeah, we've heard so many tips and tricks and recommendations, and I can only really build on what was already said, but the networks and the mentoring is probably really fundamental for allowing me to be where I am now. And I really want to remind you all how valuable it is to be together in person this week, to just have conversations with people and come at those conversations from a place of curiosity and just learn and get an insight into what others are doing and how they got to where they are, because you can probably learn a lot just from having those conversations.
Great, thank you, Kim. Someone who did start out with this in this space, I guess, quite early, Taylor, I believe you were volunteering with the Penguin Group when you were in Year 7. Did you think that you'd still be there all this time when back then? And what do you think it is that, as a young person, has motivated you to continue to stay involved and to continue volunteering?
Yeah, no, I did start in Year 7. As I said before, I was in the environment committee in school, which was a real minority. And I got involved in the Penguin Warden program. And I think, learning from there were some wardens who had been a little bit older, who'd been wardens for 10 years already. There were some people who really have been there for a really long time, and I got to learn a lot from them. And that was super empowering for me, I think. And I kept volunteering through school, and that kind of was super foundational in building that passion for conservation and for, I lived really close to these penguins. I grew up seeing them when I was little, so it was something really close to home. And I think I just felt really empowered knowing that I could do something about this colony that were right near my house. And then, leaving school, I did seriously think about should I study environmental science or conservation? And I didn't, but I think having that base in volunteering, I was already quite established in the volunteer group. I had a really good relationship with the rangers at national parks. I got invites to, jump on the bandicoot monitoring night and other bits and pieces. So I felt like I had a real community and a base in the volunteer work that I was doing, which kind of gave me the confidence to go for something else that was also really passionate about. And now I think the volunteer work that I do really enhances what I do in my professional career. I work in urban design and urbanisms in cities, and I think that nature conservation can't exist in a silo. It can't exist in isolation. So much of what we do in cities impacts what happens in the natural environment. So I think it was a really, having that base in volunteering and knowing that it doesn't have to be, being transdisciplinary is a real strength, and bringing your passion for conservation into something completely different can be really impactful as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Taylor. And I guess going in a similar vein, Patrick, you do a bit of volunteering as a bush regenerator. So how do those skills that you gain from that volunteering help you in your career?
Yeah, well, it's absolutely essential. I first came into the Landcare space through actually involvement with City of Gold Coast Council. So when I was about 12 years old, I came on as the Naturally GC Ambassador, which is an incredible program that the council runs. It's all about providing free and low-cost nature-based events for the Gold Coast community, whether that's tree planting days or wildlife workshops or nature photography, getting the Gold Coast community out there in the natural environment and engaged. So I've been involved with that since I was 12 years old, as well as a lot of work up at down at Tullabudra Creek, doing a lot of work with the regeneration of the conservation parks along there, working on both sides. It's an incredibly special area. One of the parks where we work at has the second highest koala population in Burleigh. So by being involved in those different land care and regeneration activities, you are able to gain so much insight into the area that you're working at, learn from people on the ground who have been doing it far longer than you ever have, learn about this space, and those kinds of skills I've picked up over the years from being involved in those activities are so transferable to what we are doing at Lindisfarne, whether it's monitoring for the wildlife we've got in the forest, looking at other methods of controlling weeds other than herbicides. We're using biological control to help control cat's claw creep, which actually got them from water gum. With controlling woody weeds, we've moved away from cut and pasting them, and we're using tree poppers to extract them roots and all, which is actually something I learnt from the regeneration I do along Talabudra Creek. So there's so many things that you can just pick up along the way and take them into your professional work life. And it's just so transferable in the amount of skills that you'll pick up along the way. But not only that, also making connections with people, making connections and friendships with people in the industry. And those you really have to foster because it can take you to incredible places.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Now, Cara, as you are quite remote compared to a lot of us here, what are the challenges that you come across in trying to engage young people in a more isolated area, and how have you gone about overcoming that?
Can I say curveball? I didn't prepare for this one. I guess I might backtrack a little bit, and the short answer to that question is being a young person myself in a remote community. So I started out in Melbourne. I was at Deakin University, and reflecting on today, I volunteered at Landcare and also the Deakin Enviro, so it was nice to hear that that's still kicking. And I did my honours out in the Grampians looking at small mammals and their responses to fire and climate change. I finished that and fully decided that I was going to go and work. I'd had enough of study, and then on Twitter I saw a really cute photo of a black-footed cherry rat, and that was because it was advertising a PhD in Darwin, and I basically applied because I thought the rat was really cute. I figured that was a good way to spend 4 years of my life. I was 20. You make interesting decisions back then, but they accepted me. I got a scholarship, and so I moved across the country to Darwin, and I undertook my PhD on the Tiwi Islands. So if you don't know, they're about 80 kilometres north of Darwin. Melville is actually the second largest island off the coast of Australia. And my research there was looking at tree hollow availability and the ecology of these tree-dwelling species. So the black-footed cherry rat, Google it, it's cute. Brush-tailed rabbit rats and possums. And I did a bunch of things, climbing trees, putting cameras on tree hollows, tracking rats to their homes. And like I think in a lot of life, life happens when everything else is going on, and there were some things that weren't very good that happened, and sometimes you can kind of end up on that path and you end up in a bit of a dark place. And I was so isolated. I would spend potentially 2 months on the Tiwis. Sometimes I would have volunteers, but the community was maybe 100 people. And it was also my first time really being exposed and trying to learn cross-culturally, and doing a lot of unlearning, and recognising that even in Australia there are communities that are really in developing country situations, and it's actually pretty unacceptable, I think, as the country that we should be. And also I was incredibly passionate about what I was doing, and I really just put myself into burnout, and I think we all can do that at some point in our careers. And it really took breaking my ankle playing footy. Why I was still playing footy in amongst all of that is a bit ridiculous. That I had to stop, and I had to stop and recover, and that took quite a while, and I had to work my way into getting back. And it was really tough, and I finished my PhD and the job came up at Waterkin. There's not many ecology positions with Aboriginal land management organisations. In North Australia, I'm still only aware of 3 organisations that have those roles. So I knew I wanted it really badly. And I went out and I did the interview. I actually travelled from Melbourne because I'd been staying with my parents and flew out to West Arnhem. Well, I drove from Darwin then to West Arnhem. I had a 12-hour interview basically with the CEO. It was a lot. And part of me really, really wanted it. But another part of me was really terrified going out and being so remote again. For context, some of these communities, there's no shops, there's no servo. You've got to drive at least an hour to get petrol, and that's only accessible for half the year. And I really had to sit with that and think about whether I was ready. And there was they did offer me the role, and I remember I think I was watching like Gorillas in the Mist, Diane Fossey, and I just started bawling my eyes out. And then just part of me knew that that was what I was meant to do. I was meant to go out and take these skills that I'd built and take that into these remote places. And I was so glad that I reflected, because that first year was really tough. For half of the year, I was the only staff member out there, and I would have 3 weeks on, 1 week off. But because I had learnt what my burnout zone was, I was a lot better at putting the brakes on and taking care of myself. And that's meant that I've been able to continue working with these communities for 5 years, and I'm so, so grateful for that. And so I guess part of the challenges of engaging with young people, it's being really aware of what the challenges are in community. It's a very different environment, I think, out in Northern Australia. I mean, and still there's some communities even in New South Wales and Victoria, I would say, is the same. And I just think there's so many beautiful young people that I work with. It's a slow process, and it's just continuing to provide that opportunity, continuing to provide a safe place. And sometimes I'll lose them for a bit, and that's okay, because I know that quite often they come back, and then we just start on that pathway again. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on that.
Thanks, Cara. Yeah, we've got an amazing group of panellists here that are all doing so much in their communities, and yeah, I guess there is those experiences of burnout and feeling like, can you keep going? And I'm doing a lot more than than my peers would be doing just in their general. A lot of our peers, we might get jealous that they get to have a life, but I guess we also are very privileged, and we enjoy giving back to the community. So it's a tough thing to balance. So I just wanted to go through everyone again, and just if you had any advice for the audience on what you would tell young adults that are wanting to pursue a pathway in NRM, or wanting to volunteer or contribute to the environment. And maybe this might actually, we've got a question from the audience using the little QR codes, so maybe you might use this question as a bit of fodder for your advice. But Cara, how you've touched on the burnout. So how can young adults, being in this volunteer and I guess giving space, how can we manage being overworked and underpaid while still having the capacity for the environment? I'll open to whoever would like to answer, and if you've got other advice as well, this is your parting words.
I think, I wrote, look, caring for country, I've learnt that you've got to care for yourself first. Caring for country is going to be forever, and so, it's always going to be there. And I think being in a room like this is also knowing that there's lots of other people in this space, that it's not all on you as an individual. And even though there are significant challenges, we're all working in our little ponds. I think I have changed a lot over the last 10 years, and I really do prioritise, my friends, the connections, building support networks. Part of getting, navigating the CDU job as well was actually for me to place a network around me, for me to be strong, and that's increased my longevity out in community as well. it's bad to say, but I'm going to say just work less sometimes. It's true. And also building a team, I think that's been the most fabulous thing for me over the last 5 years. When I started in this position, I was the only ecologist, and I now have a team of 2 non-Indigenous ecologists and 3 Indigenous ecologists, and they just give me so much joy these days. And it's interesting because I guess I'm having that shift now in my life from being the doer to the plate spinner, I kind of call it, and how do I mentor and support my team and basically the next generation of land carers and really prioritise their well-being. So I guess my advice also for those that are starting to mentor or that are higher up, I think staff well-being is so, so important. So having those regular check-ins, actually managing your own people's workload. I think I wasn't very good at doing that for myself, but I know through actually caring for my team and doing that for them, I've actually learned how to do it back for me. So, yeah.
Who'd like to go next? Yeah, definitely agree with what Cara said as well. You really have to look after yourself. Like for myself personally, the environment, wildlife is a hobby, a passion, and then I also do it at work. So basically it's 24/7. So I've had plenty of arguments about it at home with my husband when he says, when are you going to stop? For 5 minutes. I was like, never, because I can't. But it is, at some stage I had to stop because I went into a burnout because I was just doing way too much, as I've said before. But and I built that team around me of people that I could rely on, but also really looking after myself. And then I could step back into it fresh again and be like, okay, this is what needs to happen. This is how I can support my team. This is how I can support my community and my carers that I'm responsible for as well, all over the place. Because I guess I had a duty to them to be able to support them, but I wasn't supporting myself. So I definitely agree with that. And especially I think at the moment with the current cost of living and housing crisis and whatnot, like you can only do so much. So I think any little bit you do is good enough. Like any little bit helps. So even if it's just doing it once a month or once a fortnight, once a year, at least you're doing something. Or if you're building your skill set, it's going to help you later on. Like every little thing helps. And if that's giving back in a way of volunteering or perhaps sitting down with somebody for a coffee and just talking about your ideas and what you would like to do and working on a personal project, like any little thing helps. So that'd definitely be my advice.
I know for myself, throughout high school and definitely through primary school as well, I would always be burnt out and very overwhelmed by the state of global environmental issues. And I would always see myself as the only young person in the community trying to do something about it. And from that, I kind of got a mindset that I'm the only one my age who cares about this. So I kind of have to, I put a burden on myself to try and change the world somewhat single-handedly, which is absolutely not healthy at all. Actually, I'm very lucky. I first met Costa, I don't think he's in the room anymore, in 2014. And he is one of the most genuine people like you ever met. He had spent an entire hour with myself and my dad. And something that he told me, which still stays with me today, is, Patrick, change your world and you will change the world. So don't become overwhelmed by the global state of environmental issues. Focus on your local area first. Look at your own backyard. What environmental issues are in your backyard? What can you actively do to help fix them? Virtually any environmental issue in the world, it can be addressed from a local level. And then when you work at a local level, do that really well and then build out from that. And no matter where you are in Australia, the amount of diversity and life within your local area will be far beyond what the average person would know. Like even right here on the Gold Coast, we've got sea turtles nesting on our beaches. We've got endangered pink underwing moths in the hinterland. We've got Mitchell's rainforest snails, there's only about 500 of them left. We've got koalas, we've got about 370 species of birds on the Gold Coast. So the amount of life, no matter where you are, is incredible. So focusing on your local area, the practical things that you can do, and just remembering that nobody can do everything, but everybody has that power to do something. So focusing on what is that something that you can do. And also realising the power that we have as youth. I know when I was through my schooling years, I felt very powerless being someone that is young. But the thing that is important to remember is youth are 100% of the future. And then on the same note, we are also 100% of the future of land care and conservation and wildlife protection as well.
I can tag onto that. I mean, you put it so well, but I do think, I think I felt the same in school, feeling like, oh, I care so much about this, like I have to do everything to be saving the planet. And I was very nervous about not studying environmental science. It's like, am I letting people down? Am I like letting the planet down by not making this my everything? But I think, like, as I said before, don't feel bad about taking your passion into different things. As young people, we get pulled in so many different directions, career, job, study. There's so many opportunities out there. So even if conservation is a small part of what your day-to-day is or your life, even if it's just a small thing that you do, like that can still make a really big difference. You don't have to take on everything and do everything and make it your 100% mission to make a difference. You can make a difference in small ways as well. And the second thing I would say is lead with your heart. We need storytellers just as much as we need scientists. And informing people, giving people skills and technologies to improve the environment is one thing, but also making people feel things in their heart is really important to inspiring change. It's one thing to know what we need to do in our heads, but then to really feel that in our hearts and change the way that people feel is also really important. And that's probably like the thing that I really try to do in my volunteer work.
I don't know if there's much more I can say on this topic. You guys have all done an amazing job of rounding that up, and I just want to take the space to lift up what you've said. So thanks.
You can keep it. I think fundamentally for me it's about finding your passion, finding something that you love, and then work out your niche. If you can find something that you're passionate about, that's great. If you love it, even better. If you can make it your own little thing, that's great. And then most importantly, find other people to share that passion, share the love. And I guess thirdly, one great thing for stopping burnout is retirees. Like, we're talking a lot about NextGen and young people, but we've got to remember the older generation, the retirees. Like, I know the projects in Malakuta that I worked on, looking at, the critically endangered Becker bottlebrush, which is a small population of callistemons, completely burnt out in the fires. Having those older naturalists, those people that are super passionate about it, having those people with all that spare time, it's great because they can go out whenever you want. And, working on really cool projects like the Malakuta Endemic Garden, Victoria's most easterly botanic garden, which is a refuge and a bit of a biodiversity haven for our rare and threatened flora. I know I was super passionate. I was down there every day after work, moving rocks, carting gravel. But if it wasn't for having those like-minded, passionate individuals, young and old there, it wouldn't be able to get done. So I think, if you want to try and reduce burnout, make sure you love what you're doing, if that be revegetating, cleaning up rubbish off the beach, going into communities and engaging. Find a little niche, find something that, you can really kind of specialise on, because that's always great fun. And then make sure you surround yourself with really good people that are there to support you. And, as we said before, problem shared, problem halved, and you can really get some good shit done.
Thank you. So many good tips and so much advice. So I've only got two things to add, really. So when we talk about passion and finding your niche, also remind yourselves that some people might be passionate about Excel spreadsheets or like project management. It needs those people, just like it needs the people that are out and about doing the cool stuff. It needs the people who enable others to do what they do. So I just wanted to remind you of that as well, because it's also cool to be passionate about Excel spreadsheets. The last thing I wanted to say, and it's not my words, but I'm reading a book currently. It's called Nature's Last Dance. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but I read a quote the other day, and I found it quite moving, and I thought I'd share it with you all because we talked a lot about not being alone in this. So I might just conclude the advice session with that quote, if that's okay. It happens, these people, they're everywhere. These incredible, beautiful, kind people who show up, who give everything. All over the world, people are showing up for wild species and environments. On the front lines of the environmental crisis, a hidden army marches. And I just wanted to remind us all that we are this army, but I also wanted to say, let's no longer be hidden. Let's just make this army really loud and really visible and no longer hidden. Thank you.
I actually just thought of something as the others were talking. I think with the burnout and maybe like the environmental sort of anxiety as well, I think it's really important to sometimes have a cup of coffee with somebody that's been in a space for over 30, 40 years, because they can tell you about the struggles they had. Because I feel in some ways we are actually really fortunate where we are right now, because a lot of the support that we have these days and even the grants that are there, they weren't there 30 years ago. There was no such thing as Landcare or an environmental sector in that way, like jobs. So I really love sitting down with some of the older generation here sometimes and have a cup of coffee with them and then talk about all the things they've done, or they show me pictures of the before and after. And it just really reminds me of, one, it inspires me, and it gives me new ideas as well. But it also really reminds me that it's not all bad. People have done it before us with less resources. So if they can do it with less, then we can certainly do it. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for all of that wonderful discussion and tips that you've all given to the audience. It's wonderful. It's a very nice privilege to be up here surrounded by all of your inspiring NextGen land carers. And hopefully everyone here in the audience has been able to take something away from that and I guess realise that no matter how windy or branched your path might be or what your passions are, know that you're hoping that you're feeling empowered to trust your gut and follow the road that's calling to you, and to continue contributing towards making our planet a better place. So thank you. I just want to say good luck to the NextGen Landcare Award finalists, and we'll find out about that on Tuesday night. But it's just incredible what you're all doing in your local communities. So thank you for what you're doing. All right, so now it's going to be lunchtime, but before we go, I just wanted to give a bit of a heads up for what's happening after lunch. We've got a hackathon session happening afterwards where we're all going to pick a topic that we're going to work on in little groups to think of, ways to work through these challenges that might come up in the Landcare space. So I'm not sure if we had a slide. Okay, over lunchtime there's going to be, I think, about 12 different topics up on the screen. So if you can have a think about what topic you might like to pick, there they are, all our 12 topics up there. So over the lunch, which I think we've got, is now, think about what topic you would like so that you can come back and find the right table after lunchtime. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy your little break.